we have an urgent development in the continuing search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. She is the mother of NBC's Savannah Guthrie. 51 days, no arrest, no suspect, no body, and no answers. And yet, authorities are convinced they have what they need to crack this case. So what is the holdup? It's because this case ceased to be what everyone claimed it was quite some time ago. Today, I will walk you through what the actual evidence is telling us. Not the official story, not the theories, not the sensationalism. The facts. There's a chasm between the official narrative, the claims of on-site experts, and what the forensic trail is screaming. And those three accounts do not tell the same story. Stay with me. By this video's end, your view of this case will be fundamentally altered. We'll start with the one question every expert, every former agent, and every retired detective keeps returning to, because it's the bedrock of this mystery. Was this a robbery gone bad, or was a robbery never the intention at all? That might appear to be a simple question. It is not. The answer defines the entire trajectory of this investigation. The suspect you seek, the methods employed, the profile created. It all springs from that. So let's analyze it carefully. The intruder gets to Nancy Guthrie's Tucson home in the Catalina foothills during the early morning of February 1st. A Nest camera captures him. Ski mask, gloves, a backpack, a weapon holstered. The camera feed cuts out at 1:47 a.m. Nancy's pacemaker stops communicating with her devices at 2:28 a.m. That leaves a 41-minute time frame. Inside that window, authorities allege Nancy Guthrie was abducted. Now, consider this. If that man's intent was burglary, what inside that home made abducting an 84-year-old woman with a heart ailment a better choice than simply escaping? Burglars strike at night for one primary reason. They want to avoid confrontation. They leverage the dark and the quiet of a sleeping residence precisely to prevent an encounter. Under duress, people don't make superior choices, they make inferior ones. So what circumstances inside that residence would lead a burglar, in that moment, with adrenaline coursing through his veins, to believe that taking a living, medically vulnerable 84-year-old with him was his safest option? It does not add up. Not by logic, nor by behavioral patterns. And the 41-minute time frame makes the idea even less plausible. In that time, a supposed thief had to switch to kidnapping, secure transportation, and manage logistics. Perhaps even signal an accomplice. Then move an 84-year-old from her room, out of the house, and into a vehicle. That isn't a decision made in panic. That is a coordinated mission. And missions aren't born from chaos in 41 minutes. This was premeditated. The real question is for how long? And by whom? Now, let's examine what the crime scene reveals, because the house holds the truth. First, let's talk about the blood. Forensic DNA tests confirmed Nancy Guthrie's blood was discovered near the entrance to her house. It wasn't a pool, nor was it static. It was a trail. And that trail halts precisely where the walkway meets the driveway. The lack of pooling confirms she was mobile when she exited the residence. Her blood ends at the pavement, implying she was forced into a car at that spot. She did not leave on her own. She was either carried or escorted to that point, then vanished into the darkness. Next, we examine the bedroom. This is a crucial element that most media outlets have overlooked. What was the state of New York's bedroom when law enforcement arrived? Was there evidence of a violent struggle? Was the bedding thrown back, showing a fight? Or was the room completely untouched? If she were taken from bed by force at 2 in the morning, the scene would look a certain way. If she awoke and met an intruder at her door, it presents a totally different picture. The condition of that room reveals the entire sequence of events inside that house, detailing if she was alerted and if she put up a fight. Authorities have intentionally withheld this information from the public. That lack of disclosure is calculated. Third, the method of entry. Despite extensive drone surveillance, neighborhood interviews, and forensics, no evidence of forced entry has emerged. Not a single broken window or a door kicked from its frame. Nancy was 84 years old and a longtime resident of the Catalina foothills, an area where violent crime was virtually unheard of. Is it so far-fetched to consider that after years of feeling safe, she might have left a door unsecured? If a door was unlocked, the perpetrator's entry was silent. No loud crash, no warning system, no fight at the doorway. An intruder simply walked inside, and an intruder who walks in either anticipated an open door or had observed the home long enough to know a way in. Let's analyze the suspect's knowledge, because this is where the incident deviates from a random act. He was aware of the camera placements. Only the Nest doorbell camera at the entrance captured his image. The FBI later retrieved more footage in March 2026 from cameras activated by motion, which monitored the pool, the backyard, and the side of the house. He is absent from all of them. He targeted the front camera specifically. He disabled it. He navigated the property without being seen by any other lens. This was either astounding luck, or he knew the precise field of view for every camera. He knew her routine. His arrival was after 1:47 a.m. He was certain she was home and that she was by herself. Her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, had seen her home at about 9:50 p.m., nearly 4 hours before. He knew the opportunity. He understood the timeline. And we must consider January 11th. Authorities have specifically questioned New York's neighbors about this day, 3 weeks prior to her vanishing. The Guthrie family released their own public statement on March 21st, urging Tucson locals to check any recordings or recollections from January 11th. Today, a desperate appeal from her loved ones, calling on Tucson residents to share any new information. The Today Show's Savannah Guthrie, alongside her siblings, stated that the key to solving their mother's disappearance might lie within the Tucson community, hoping for the one vital clue that investigators have yet to uncover. In a family statement, they said, "Someone out there has answers." They are pleading with Tucson locals to recall anything unusual around those critical dates. Investigators are focused on January 31st, when Guthrie was last seen, and the early hours of February 1st, when Nancy was likely abducted. Additionally, there is the evening of January 11th, a date authorities have strangely fixated on. January 11th fell 20 days before Nancy went missing. Until this point, its significance has been a complete mystery, but new reports now suggest that January 11th may be connected to the masked man seen in surveillance footage from Guthrie's Nest camera. For an update, we turn to Brian Anton, who has followed this case from the beginning. Brian, what on that Nest video points investigators to January 11th? Elizabeth, this January 11th element from the Guthrie statement is quite revealing. This marks the first time the family has confirmed the importance of January 11th, a date precisely 3 weeks before Nancy Guthrie disappeared. While I was covering the neighborhood, I constantly heard that the FBI was asking neighbors for any video from January 11th. They asked if anyone witnessed odd behavior on the night of January 11th, and now the Guthries are confirming their interest in that same day. It's notable. The sheriff now references those 2 images from the Google Nest camera at Nancy Guthrie's front door. He claims Google's initial report dated one of those photos to January 11th, but later retracted, saying they couldn't be certain of that exact date. But in any case, it strongly implies this individual, or perhaps several, were scouting Nancy Guthrie's residence. Watching the house 3 weeks in advance, Elizabeth, is clear evidence this was premeditated. Elizabeth, it's shocking to realize she vanished 51 days ago. That poor family. Okay, Brian. Thank you. Reports from ABC and Fox News suggest the suspect appeared at her door on that day, but without a backpack, potentially scouting the location before the February 1st incident. The sheriff, for clarity's sake, noted Google couldn't confirm the image was from January 11th, yet the FBI questioned neighbors about it. The family stressed its importance, and it's a key date for investigators. If this was the same individual, he wasn't improvising. He was planning. Now, the physical evidence leads to a certain conclusion. It's a theory the official story has been hesitant to embrace. More than one person was almost certainly involved in this abduction. Here's why. The trail of blood stops at the driveway, which means Nancy was forced into a vehicle. A car needs someone to drive it, and a leading theory is that the masked figure from the doorbell footage was a lookout, helping an accomplice move Nancy outside. News Nation confirmed the FBI revisited the area, asking about former tenants who left a home nearby just before the kidnapping. A retired SWAT commander from Puma County mentioned to Parade that agents are probing if that empty residence was used as a potential staging area. Killers could have staked out the area, learning routines for weeks leading up to February 1st. The sheriff himself concedes it likely wasn't a solo act. It's a theory he's never dismissed. This was far from a single person's impulsive crime. The evidence itself tells a story. The surveillance, disabling cameras, the getaway car, that 41-minute window, it all screams coordination. And right now, there's over $1.3 million on the table. Pure cash. It's anonymous, no questions asked. And still, nothing has surfaced. What conclusion can we draw from that silence? That the circle of knowledge is tiny. A secret shared is no longer a secret, particularly with that kind of money at stake. Now, let's focus on those 10 unexplained days. On February 6th, Sheriff Chris Nanos was clear at a presser. Nobody is off the list. Then, just 10 days later, on the 16th, he released a formal statement announcing the Guthrie family, including every sibling and their spouse, was cleared in the case. And yet, in those 10 days, the public was told nothing new. Meanwhile, DNA evidence was still being tested at a private lab down in Florida, and the sheriff himself acknowledged a significant delay. Gloves found 2 miles away were traced to a restaurant worker completely unconnected to the case. They cleared the family before the lab had even finished with the DNA. With no other suspect named, and with no arrests on the horizon. Okay, let me just read you the sheriff's exact statements. He told the Daily Mail on Sunday, quote, "Nobody has been cleared as suspects." The very next day, Monday, his press release read, "The family, quote, has been cleared as possible suspects." By Tuesday, another press release was issued. It said the family has not been identified as suspects, a huge distinction from being cleared. By that logic, I haven't been identified as a suspect, but I'm not in any legal danger living in Connecticut. That's hardly the case for those living nearby, or 2 miles out, like the sister and her husband. And let me be clear, I'm not implying they harmed Nancy Guthrie, but here's the thing. All along, the sheriff's refrain has been that nobody is off the table. He said it again and again. No one has been ruled out. Yet while repeating that, he seized the sister-in-law's car for evidence. Law enforcement, including the FBI, descended on the sister and brother-in-law's house time after time, even in the dead of night, arriving with lights off to snap photos at 2:30 in the morning, and they returned for at least one more late-night visit. The question is, why all the intense focus? This level of scrutiny wasn't applied to any of Nancy's neighbors, and Annie and Tomas Guthrie's house is not where the crime occurred. So why was so much investigative power focused on their home, if they weren't seriously looking at one or both of them as persons of interest in Nancy's disappearance? To this day, the sheriff hasn't explained what prompted the change. Take it from veteran journalist Ashley Banfield, who reported on 9/11 from Ground Zero, hosted a primetime CNN show, and spent 5 years as an anchor on News Nation. On February 4th, she told podcast listeners an inside source called Tommaso Chioni, the last person to see Nancy alive, a key person of interest. But she immediately added a caution, evoking the wrongly accused father of Elizabeth Smart. She has never taken back the statement. When he was cleared, her online post read, "Nothing's changed." Former FBI agent Jonathan Gilliam went on Fox News that day, suggesting the family's clearance was more emotional than factual. He argued, "You can't clear anyone until you know who was inside that house." This is the current confirmed information. Both Tommaso Chioni and Annie Guthrie have reportedly passed lie detector tests. A former SWAT officer, speaking on the Megyn Kelly show, indicated this should be enough for the public to move past suspicion. The sheriff has also maintained the family was fully cooperative from the start. Yet the pivot between February 6th and February 16th remains unexplained. A formal move to oust Sheriff Nanos began. March 12th, requiring 120,000 signatures in 120 days to force a vote. The Puma County Board of Supervisors convenes on March 24th to review the sheriff's own record, including sworn testimony he allegedly falsified. None of this activity helps locate Nancy Guthrie. But internal conflict at this point is a luxury this investigation doesn't have. This is the investigation's actual status right now. A 20 to 24-person task force, evenly split between deputies and the FBI, remains active. They've analyzed cell phone location data, performed digital forensics, and reviewed new footage from property cameras in March 2026. That review was completed and showed nothing unusual. Neighbors were re-interviewed about key dates. A vacant house nearby was examined as a potential crime staging area, but DNA is still the vital clue. Genetic material from a person unknown to Nancy was found inside her residence. The sheriff has called the sample mixed, indicating it holds DNA from multiple people, which complicates database searches. Gloves discovered 2 miles from the scene had a different unknown male's DNA, but they belonged to a restaurant employee and were dismissed as irrelevant. Authorities are now employing forensic investigative genetic genealogy. It's the same technology used to track the Golden State Killer, applied to leads from the scene's DNA. This happened after conventional database searches yielded no hits. Retired FBI profiler Jim Clemente noted publicly the perpetrator left his face uncovered. He breathed inside the home. His eyes, his hair, all were exposed. That forensic evidence could be in a Florida lab now, just waiting for a name. The Gilgo Beach murders, among America's most difficult cases, wasn't solved by a new discovery, but by re-examining existing evidence with fresh perspective. They challenged every assumption, starting from scratch. The answer to this case could already be logged in a database, a lab file, or a cell phone record. It all hinges on the right person seeing the pattern. One question has haunted this investigation for weeks, and it's time to ask it directly. An 84-year-old woman with a pacemaker and a serious heart issue disappeared from home without her phone or essential daily medication. An expert reviewing the facts stated that she likely perished within 72 hours, lacking her medication. Citing historical data, that expert believes if she's deceased, she's likely within 2 to 5 miles from where she lived. The desert near Tucson shows no mercy. The terrain is unyielding. Hiding a body there is challenging, but possible. Savannah Guthrie's own words conveyed that devastating truth. We face the reality she could be lost, or that we are already too late. We know she might just be lost, or her life might have already ended. She could be with the God she so deeply loved, reunited in heaven, dancing with her parents and cherished brother, Pierce, and with our own father. If that is her fate, we are prepared to accept it, but we desperately need to find her. A missing person search versus a homicide probe demand separate strategies, search protocols, and core objectives. Pursuing both lines of inquiry at once is the correct strategy. If the team locks into one narrative, that is exactly how investigations stall. The reward has surpassed $1.3 million. The tip line is 1-800-CALL-FBI. It's anonymous, cash, no ID. On March 21st, the Guthrie family urged Tucson locals to think back carefully. They highlighted January 31st, early February 1st, and the evening of January 11th. They suspect someone local knows something vital, perhaps without recognizing its importance. And they are right. 51 days, a 41-minute window, unidentified DNA at the scene awaiting analysis, a potential staging area being probed, a reward yielding no breakthroughs, and a sheriff silent on what shifted in 10 days. This case is far from hopeless. It's just unsolved, and there is a big difference. Any information from the night of January 31st, early February 1st, or the evening of the 11th is critical. Please call. The number is 1-800-CALL-FBI, anonymous, cash, no ID. Nancy Guthrie is gone 51 days. Someone holds the key to this case. Model. Some stories leave more than shock. They leave a warning. This case reminds us that danger doesn't always look obvious. It often hides behind trust and routine. The quiet signs we ignore, the instincts we silence, can carry real consequences. It also shows the power of speaking up. Silence can protect the wrong people, while one brave voice can change everything. Awareness is not fear, it's responsibility. In the end, this isn't just about what happened, but what we choose to learn from it, to stay alert, to trust ourselves, and to protect those who might not have a voice.